It's the Hats Hits IG football recap show, high school football related, but I've got a couple big topics in the world of sports to delve in with all of you because we got a big trade in the NBA and college football, a zany finish where a team from the Commonwealth got robbed, folks. They simply got robbed, and I'm here to tell you how it is. The folks want, and I know it's different now with the college football playoff. You don't have 4 teams. You got a dozen teams, and one loss doesn't kill you. And Miami was down double digits. We're going to give you some love out there. Freeman Legacy 5-0, first time since 96. But that's coming. That's coming. Appreciate you tuning in. Interact with us on IG, Facebook, Twitter, X. I think we're even on LinkedIn, YouTube, Cova Sports TV. We're all over the web here with this. And we got 757 Saturday Sports Talk coming your way, 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. with yours truly and the sometimes disgruntled, always grumpy Coach Ed Young. But the Hokies of Virginia Tech should have won that game as a, 17.5 point pup in Coral Gables against the Miami Hurricanes, the now favorite in the ACC with perhaps the Heisman favorite and Cam Ward, the quarterback, who led them back in this football game. But folks, and I get Virginia Tech did a lot of things wrong in this game. I get that they had the double-digit lead. I get that they let Miami off the hook, to use the old Dennis Green line. After scoring 17 points in the second quarter, they got outgained 508 to 394. I'm not shedding a tear for them, you say. I am, because they get the ball at the end after squandering the 10-point fourth quarter lead that they acquired after Drones' 16-yard TD pass with 12 minutes to play. Ward leads them down the field not once but twice, and then Virginia Tech's got the ball at the end. It looks like the 757 native, who once upon a time, ladies and gents, was playing not just his high school football in a 757 at Churchland and Portsmouth, but at Norfolk State, Daquan Felton, is going to be the hero. It's a touchdown. They rule it on the field as a TD. And as they always say in college and pro sports, all these experts, even heard the analysts on the game, forgive me, I want to say it was Andre Ware. I'm not positive. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think it was Ware. I'm not sure who the analyst was. I think it was Ware. But he was spot on. It was Andre Ware with Anish Shroff. If you don't have indisputable visual evidence, you don't change the call on the field. It took 5+ minutes to review this thing. I don't have a dog in the fight in this. 5+ minutes to review this thing. And what happens? They change the call. What did you see, officials, to change this call to no touchdown? You called it. Listen, I would tell you if they said incomplete after watching that replay from 12 different angles, 15 different times, it's incomplete. But you called a TD on the field. What did you see? Well, he didn't catch it. Well, then you rule it as a catch. You don't see the ball clearly hit the ground. It's a scrum. Looks like he's got it. They got robbed, plain and simple. And I'm here to tell you, that's what it's about here. You want Miami in the picture, and they were not going to have Miami at home. They have to airlift those referees out of there. That's what happened. Travesty. Hokies got robbed. I put out on X or Twitter, a little too soon, a little premature on my end, that Hokies under Pry are about to make the Canes cry. Well, now Virginia Tech is crying and screaming, and they should be. This would have been a landmark win. And okay, Virginia should have been in that predicament. But no. You throw a pass in the end zone to win the game, you win the game. Hold on now. That's just like when Aaron Rodgers threw it years ago for the Packers against the Lions. Sorry, Detroit fans. Win the game. It's a touchdown. These Hail Mary passes happen all the time. Think of Doug Flutie. Boston College. Ring a bell? They got robbed. Plain and simple. If that game is in Blacksburg, you think they're changing that call? Heavens no. Heavens no. National TV, ESPN, primetime game on a Friday night, top 10 opponent. Going to let them, the flag carrier of the ACC right now, although keep an eye on Clemson. They're getting a little bit better. I'm not here to say that their quarterback is necessarily Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence, and that this offense is what it was when they had Sammy Watkins and Etienne and Hopkins and all those guys, and they were winning a couple titles with Dabo. But Clemson can get to the ACC championship and have something to say about this when it's all said and done and make the playoff. They've improved since the Georgia butt whooping. And everybody's looking forward to Georgia, Alabama on Saturday night. That's the game of the year. We all get that. Might be part one of a couple parts, and we see it again in the playoff. But this was an opportunity, a statement type of win for Virginia Tech football against a top 10 opponent. Momentum in recruiting. Brent Pry had the setbacks. The loss to Vanderbilt. Terrible loss. Not an SEC contender. the loss last week to Rutgers. Listen, Greg Schiano's Scarlet Knights a lot better than most people realize. They're not the Rutgers doormat of yesteryear. And they pulled out one tonight to move to 4-0, I think it is, beating Washington 21-18. I know it's not Brian Leonard, Ray Rice in the backfield, but Schiano's a good coach and they play physical. Yeah, they had chances to push their lead up. I hear you. They had their chances. But you're playing against a guy that's viewed as, if not the Heisman favorite, whether you're in the Cam Ward boat or the Travis Hunter boat or someone else's boat, he's among the favorites. Whether it's by the experts out there, the analysts on TV, the ones that cover the sport, even the odds makers in Vegas that put up odds for this thing. He's among the favorites. And Cam Ward showed you in this game late why he is so great with 343 and 4 touchdowns and converting every big third down, 10 of 16, converting the fourth down. But the Hokies were 9 of 14 on third down. They had the one failed fourth down. A couple things I'm sure Brent probably liked differently. But if that play stands like it probably should have, we're talking about a 40-38 win for Virginia Tech that has them on the way instead of a controversial ending. And they have some explaining to do. But first of all, when it takes you that long to review it, I got to think it stands. If you see something within 2 minutes, you change the call. There was nothing visually, indisputable visual evidence. That is the letter of the. That's it. Just a tough pill to swallow for Virginia Tech. And you do wonder. I don't even know who they've got. I've looked at the schedule here. Who the Hokies play next week? I got to look it up here in my Phil Steele magazine. You wonder if this lingers. This is a brutal loss. I mean, a brutal loss for them. I don't know how they get over it. I mean, this really sets them back when you think that this was the win that was going to catapult them and put them, not in the championship mix, but make them a real factor. They go to Stanford next. Let's go across the country. It's going to take some time to get over this one. Then they have the bye week, BC, Georgia Tech, at Syracuse, Clemson, at Duke, UVA. This one really stunts what was the growth of them with this win. This is a tough one. This is a tough one to get over. It's a really bitter pill to swallow. And Hokie fans, I want to hear from you out there. How mad are you? Ones that hate Virginia Tech. There's a bunch of you out there. What do you think about this? Watch the play. If you didn't see it, if you weren't watching it on Friday night, you weren't aware of the game, let me know what you think. I've got my D-backs on right now, too, by the way, down 5-3 in the 8th to the Padres. So that's got me a little occupied. And I'll hit something on the cat trade in a second with the Knicks and the T-Wolves. But absolutely, you're right, DeAndre Owens. It was BS. It was total BS, as he says to himself. I can't for the life of me. I was stunned. I was almost convinced, 75, 80%. I'm sitting on the phone with somebody who was watching the game. This is going to, before I put up my hats hits, it's going to stand. You don't have enough to, but the fact that it's in Miami and you say, you know what? There you go. And someone actually tweeted me, this is that game that Miami comes back and shows that they're not all the way back, but they pull one out of the fire. And this is going to be big later in the year. If Miami gets tripped up here, how we look at them in terms of seeding. I'm sorry. I'm not the biggest Mario Cristobal fan out there. He did what he did last year, that game where they absolutely gagged at the end against Georgia Tech. Let's move on to some hats hits because I could just go on. And I'll go on more about this Saturday with Coach Young on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. We spent about almost 10 minutes. I could spend 30 to 40 on this game. The hats hits tonight. A lot going on in the world of high school football in Virginia. We've had Hurricane Helene that is causing havoc with the schedule, moving some games up, moving some games back. Some teams haven't played. Some got them in early. I took in a game Thursday night. I was going to go out to Lynchburg for Liberty Christian Heritage. Weather was a little concerning with the rain after I did a soccer match for HU in Norfolk. So I decided to do one closer to home. It's all a good ball game. Kings Fork Nansman over Suffolk rivalry match. And it ended up being the Bulldogs pulling that one out of Kings Fork 32-27. Both teams had 11-point leads. One was almost squandered at the end by Kings Fork at the 1-yard line. Bulldogs stuffed the Warriors and Tyrell Grant, who had a really good night, 297 total, 3-4 touchdowns. But that was the game I took in Thursday night. Really good game. Wasn't an A game. It was probably a B plus A minus game. It was close to being a classic. It wasn't as classic as last year's matchup. And we'll talk about some rivalry stuff in the, if not tonight's episode, future ones, because I'm going to get that take of people, the best rivalry in the state. And Coach Jeffrey has an interesting take on that with that rivalry, which you'll watch on our show on Cova Sports TV Saturday on YouTube. Check it out. But, looking at other games and some of the hats hits. One of the big things was that you had Lauren Johnson of Highland Springs get his 200th career victory tonight as they beat Riverbend. They were down early in this game, got the lead, pulled away. Good job for them. And Lauren, to me, I know they had those 2 early losses to heavyweights from the 757 and Phoebus and Maury. But this is a guy that, by the way, former Hokies player. If our man Dwight Vick is out there watching, Hampton Crabber, Hokie, that was on with us a couple weeks ago on our show. I know he and Lauren are very close, and he's thrilled for Lauren. And he's won 5 state championships at Highland Springs, had the 4-peat. Lost last year in the final to Freedom of Woodbridge. The year before that, beat Maury in the final at Old Dominion. And, I think of him as a father to his 2 boys and his daughters, by the way, the 2 boys that are playing football, one of which now on the Hokies, heartbroken tonight, and Braylon Johnson, his other son, Brennan, who's on the team as a senior, still waiting to see where he plays his college football, and a husband. I know his wife is so proud of him, and a mentor to so many young people and people that have come from Highland Springs. And even beyond all that and the wins and the state championships, this is a guy that's a leader of young men. And what he's done for so many youngsters in that 804 area and through that program, it's so profound. And he's one of the best. And I don't know that we appreciate coaches like him. He's not the only one, but the elite of the elite as much as we should and cherish what he's done. So a big salute to you. 200 wins. It's really hard to do in football. He's been there for an awful long time, and he's one of the best to do it. My second hat's hit that we'll get to. And by the way, our man DeAndre says, could cover Indian River more. I'm down in ATL now, and they have been on fire this season. Guess what, DeAndre? You're going to be in for a treat. Make sure you follow my X, or Twitter as they call it, and VirginiaPreps.com on Saturday, because the Braves have a game, and you might get what you want there. You might, and they're going to be on a lot more future episodes. We got to you got to make it a little marinate a little bit. Simmer there. They're going to be talked about in that Southeastern with Oscar Smith and with Kings Fork and Nansman, and they're defending Region 5A champs. And we've got some content coverage coming. Don't you worry. I'm glad you said that, because they're one of those teams that hasn't been getting enough love. And that's the theme of tonight's episode. We know about Maury and Phoebus and Highland Springs and Liberty Christian, which won that big win over Heritage of Lynchburg the other night. And they got maybe the best running back in the state, and Gideon Davidson. And if he's not, it might be Jeff Overton of Hayfield. And if it's not him, it could be another record setter in Harry Dalton of Dinwiddie, who's going to Southern Cal. Davidson's going to Clemson. Overton's going to Virginia Tech. Pretty cool that they're all going to Power 5 schools, a couple in the ACC, one in the Big Ten. But some schools that are off to some surprising starts that haven't gotten enough ink and coverage. And I'm going to be the first to admit it, not just from us, but all the media. I'm putting us all in the same boat. And I'll put myself on the main boat. We'll put the anchor and sink it. There's some of the main purpose of this. They're not high in the top 10s. They aren't ranked. 3 big wins tonight from teams that are not in my top 10s. I do all 6 classifications. We're the only ones, Virginia Preps, that I'm aware of that ranks them on. I'm not going to count Max Preps. I don't want to be the hater about there, but they had Freedom Woodbridge ranked before tonight in their top 10s, and Freedom lost by 70 plus. It's not the same team. That team's now pretty much at Hayfield. Let's just call it what it is. But we do it meticulously, and we get some right, we get some wrong. It's always opinion, it's subjective. But 3 wins tonight, big wins. And I'm going to take them a little out of order from what I've got here with the hats hits that we did tonight. And the last one I put up, which was Langley, number 5, on the hats hits. I didn't have Langley anywhere near my radar. I'm going to be completely honest with you all. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it and say I can tell you 12 players on their team. I can name you a few, but they're 5-0 for the first time ever. They've been around since 1965 playing football. And tonight, with Langley getting a win to move to 5-0, it also means that they've got their first 5-game winning streak since 2013 at any point of the season. Their best start before this year was actually when they were 4-0 to begin 1986. And they're a team I got to pay more attention to now. They were Liberty District champs back in 2022. They're going to play George Marshall coming up next week, who got themselves a win tonight, as they play Wakefield to that. Yorktown's an established program, and Washington Liberty's been a good team So their schedule is going to get harder. They can go straight from this 5-0 start to very easily 6-3 before they play McLean in the finale. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it could happen. But I like what they're doing. And it's always a joy for me to see a team come out of nowhere and get a little love, generate some attention, and here they are. They're not the only one. We also talked about tonight our number 3. Is it 3 or 4? Let's go in order here, try to find them for you. Let's go number 4. Let's go down from 5 to 1 here. We talked about Lauren at number 1, so we'll do the middle. Number 4 was Bruton Panthers. And looking at the picks this week, they played Grafton. Tyler predictions up on VirginiaPreps.com. I thought it was a toss-up game. And I picked Bruton to beat Grafton in our picks that Coach Young and I do. I had them winning this football game 21-20. Coach Young had it 24-18. Guess what, folks? 35-6. We weren't close. Nor was Grafton, for that matter. Bruton handled them after beating Northumberland by 30-plus last week. And they did that when the coach, Barrington Morrison, came on the show on the Hash with Hatfield, which airs during the week on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk. I'm sorry, on our Kova Sports TV YouTube channel before 757 Saturday Sports Talk airs during the week. I don't know what VB Dom's laughing at. What are you laughing at there, VB Dom? And Bruton, they got receivers, Brendan Freeman, Anthony Henderson, Ashton Bell had a touchdown tonight. They had 4 or 5 different guys score a touchdown tonight. Not a one-trick pony. Defense last year was a bit of a sieve. Let's just be honest with you. They have a bunch of different guys making plays on defense. And they're a Class 2 school that's in their own district not viewed as a contender because they've lost a bunch of district games, 26 in a row before tonight. And here they are. We could be talking about them going from 4-0 to 5-0 now to maybe 6-0, 7-0. And we're looking at them maybe with Poquoson, who we've got currently in the state on Virginia Preps in Class 2 at number 3. Poquoson's got an injured quarterback, a couple other players dinged up. They got a tough matchup coming up with Tab this weekend, and they're behind Glenver and Graham. And I'm not saying Bruton's win a regional championship, state championship, but I'm here to say they're better than all of us thought they were. And Barrington Morrison and his entire staff, which includes Obi Boykin, the OC, that whole staff, they deserve tons of props and credit because Bruton was nowhere being sniffed at, looked at, thought about in any top 10s, area top 15s. This page's top whatever it might be, that Tab game is going to be good. I agree with you. I wish I could be out there. I can't be at 14 different places at once. I've been getting messages all night, by the way. Can you come to my game? Can you come to my game? No. Until you all invent cloning, I can't be at all of them. I'd like to be at all of them. And then, you want to be at this event. Can you be at this basketball event? Can you be at this soccer? Can't be everywhere, folks. I'd like to be. I like to be. I really would be. But that's why we have the NFHS network. That's why we have the internet. That's why we have highlights, and I can watch other stuff as well. But I try to get to as much different stuff as I can. I try to. It's impossible, but I try to. And I have seen Poquoson once live this year, actually twice live this year. Scrimmage against Ocean Lakes and the opener against Lake Taylor, which was a last-minute go-to decision in Norfolk because my dad took me out for my birthday like 2 weeks later that night afterwards. I put my birthday off for 2 weeks because I had all this football content due for all of you out there. And I want to see Tab play. John Byron, good pal, good friend, and we had him on the Hash with Hatfield last year, and he's doing a nice job with them. Beat York last week, which was a mild surprise to me. I picked York in that game. 16-6 win for the Tigers. So again, Bruton, like Langley, big ups to you. Another big ups to you out there on the surprise list of good win. Number 3 on my hats hits tonight. Before tonight, we could call them the best team not in our top 10. That's the Stafford Indians, who, again, if you ask people that cover maybe even outside of Fredericksburg, even inside of Fredericksburg, name 5 guys on Stafford, they couldn't do it. Stafford has not been a perennial contender. Stafford is not that long removed from a 20-game losing streak. And Mo Hampton had a team that was really good, and they fell off. And now they're back on. Back in 4th game, following the updates. They get a touchdown late from Zion Gray to win it. He's making plays with the ball in his hands at Q. Michael Creamer's been setting, records for them running the ball. He's been tremendous. He's probably one of the more inherited, really good backs. We talked about one for North Stafford last week. Stafford's got some, and some of those Fredericksburg teams are sneaky this year. They're sneaky. I don't think they're viewed as elite championship level teams, but they're sneaky, and they're in Class 6, and they're now looking at one of their best starts in an awful long time at Stafford. And to be more exact for you, Stafford has not had this kind of start to a season at 5-0 since 2017, 7 years. They had lost 12 in a row to Colonial Forge, who's known as that regular staple, winning 8, 9, 10-plus games under the Hall of Fame coach Bill Brown and now his son John Brown. And they hadn't beaten them since 2011. And it's just a massive win tonight. As big a win as anybody had in the state tonight. Stafford beating Colonial Forge 35-31. I want to see where they go from here. And their offense has been clicking and putting up points in bunches all year. Again, some of those teams, Brook Point, Colonial Forge, North Stafford, they're sneaky this year. They're better than we realize. We've seen Colonial Forge and Massaponax make state playoff runs in the past. They haven't quite gotten to that championship level, and I'm not sure that Stafford's going to do that. But they're better than I realized, much better than I realized. And they're a 7-8 win type of team that can get to the playoffs and even advance in the playoffs, which, again, was not on my brain whatsoever. Really cool story. And we love these cool stories. We try to document them for you on Virginia Preps and on our social channels for you. And then the other one here, is that the last one? We got one more, I think. I know I'm leaving one more out here. And then I'll give you some idle thoughts on the NBA trade and finish up with you all out here. Oh, John Champ. Now, John Champ is more of the very good to elite status. We had them in our preseason top 10. One of their receivers, I think it was a health situation. I don't want to say it was cancer, but he was not going to be able to play this year. And that made me a little concerned about where I had them in our preseason rankings. I love what Lee Carter's doing there as the head coach. And I put him number 8. And I thought I was going to put him about 7 or 6 if that one young man, whose name's escaping me at the moment, wasn't sure if he was going to play or not. I know who's playing for them, and that's DeJuan Harvey. And this dude is catching TDs left and right. He's got 7 on the year through 5 games. John Champ's put up 100 points the last 2 games. And John Champ has steadily rose and shot up the charts. By the way, former Stonebridge quarterback Brendan Pena is the cue for John Champ. And we see Stonebridge, which lost to Good Counsel tonight, has yet to get a win yet, which is mind-boggling for the new coach and Coach Golston, former NFL defensive lineman. John Champ, though, they got that tough, gritty. Harvey is definitely a beast. They got the tough, gritty win over Briarwoods, beginning of the year where Briarwoods missed the field goal. And ever since then, they've been rocking and rolling and scoring points in bunches. They call it Air Aldi out there. I love that tag for them. They sling it. If you've ever watched them live or on film, you'll enjoy watching them because they spread the field. They do a good job of getting all the receivers involved, not just Harvey, but Tyler Kahn. They mix in 3 or 4 different receivers, and they play a really, really innovative, exciting brand of football. And kids love it. I think the fans enjoy it too. And John Champ, they're a team that people say, where'd they come from? It's the first 5-0 start since when? 2015 under then Jason Dawson? Yeah. John Champ has now moved up from start of the year to number 8 in the rankings to now they're sitting at number 4, excuse me, only behind Phoebus, Huguenot, Dinwiddie. And if you're in the same conversation with those 3, Phoebus riding a 3-peat, still the favorite, not making any bold proclamations, taking them off the perch or the pedestal. Huguenot, who's been scoring in the 60s and 70s, and Dinwiddie, who won a state championship just 2 years ago with Mr. Dalton and the great Billy Mills coaching them, you're doing something right. And John Champ is definitely doing something right. So look out for them in the playoffs. They were so close to beating Tuscarora last year. This could be the year they get to the state playoffs, win the region championship in 4C, and we're looking at them playing on that first Saturday in December. So again, I tip the hat, take the hat off to John Champ, to Langley, to Stafford, to Bruton. For those in Langley, Bruton, and Stafford, they were not on anybody's radar screen. If they tell you that they were, they're lying to you. They're lying through the teeth, the tooth. They're lying through the mouth to you. And, of course, John Champ doing a great job. And Lauren Johnson. Springers have regrouped. Back-to-back wins over Riverbend and Douglas Freeman since the 2 double-digit losses they took soundly to Maury and Phoebus. And, again, I said this to them when it happened. Losing to Maury and Phoebus, there's no shame in that. They're championship programs for a reason, and they're ranked number 1 in their respective classes, 5 and 4 in the state for a reason. So there you have it. Final thoughts before we sign off here on this edition. NBA trade. Sounds like it's, and I look at the TV as I watch my D-backs now down 5-3 in the 9th with Ginkle on the hill against Profar with a man at 3rd and 1 out. They're going to get a sack fly, make this a 3-run lead, and it's just going to drive me nuts. And by the way, bad job, Major League Baseball. I tell my buddies all the time when I beat up the NBA. Bad job, baseball. And I say this as a D-backs fan. I say it clearly. You know, we let the Braves and Mets put his double dip on Monday. real fair. What's going to happen to my guys? What's going to happen to them? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to them. We're going to lose the last spot because the team that wins that game to clinch on Monday between Atlanta and the Mets will lie down and play their single A guys in the second game, and we lose a tiebreaker, and we're out. We are out. It's going to just drive me crazy. We already got more wins than last year. We won 84 games. I say we. When the D-backs won 84 games and reached the Fall Classic unexpectedly by beating Milwaukee and the Dodgers, the evil, dreaded Dodgers, with now Ohtani to go with Betts and Freeman, and there's so many creeps. And the Phils with Bryce Harper. He gets on my nerves too. And Realmuto and Schwarber and Castellanos. We beat those guys game 6 and 7 in Philly when Mad Dog Russo said he was going to retire. He never did. Shame on you, Mad Dog. We should bite you and bark at you. I like you, Chris, but shame on you. Oh, we got a strikeout. Maybe we will get out of this only down 2 runs. Fingers crossed. But baseball, you got to do better than that. It's just, and then you're going to make the team turn around, go fly to the West Coast to play the Padres that Tuesday afternoon at 3 in the afternoon because you got the vice presidential debate and you're not going to play it at night. I mean, don't get me started on that one. But the NBA trade, as I digress and move to the NBA for a second. Karl Anthony Towns, the all-star from the Minnesota Timberwolves, is going to the New York Knicks in exchange for Julius Randle, who I'm sure Knicks fans are glad to see depart because he's never really healthy and reliable, as good of a player as he is and as productive as he can be. It might seem like a wash there with him and Cat, but Cat is more skilled, a smidge more dependable, a smidge more explosive in terms of the production at times than Randle. But here's the real killer loss. The Villanova Knicks, the New York Wildcats, the Knickerbockers, coached by Tom Thibodeau, have amassed some Villanova guys. Maybe flat to center. We're going to the bottom of the ninth. We got Machado out. Let's make this happen. But the Knicks have Jalen Brunson, who was an MVP candidate last year, and Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, and now Mikal Bridges. The Nova Knicks now have taken off the guy that the Knicks fans just love. The heart, the toughness, the hustle, the soul of the team, and Dante, who was clutch for them and gritty for them. And remember what he did in that Game 7 loss? He laid it on the line in a Game 7 loss where Brunson got hurt in the semis to the Pacers. And you send him to Minnesota? Knicks, listen. Listen, the Wolves are glad to get rid of Cat because him and Ant and Gobert was not working. Yeah, it got him to the Western Final. They beat Denver, but it wasn't working. As someone put it to me so spot on, the Wolves would have traded Cat for Grimace, the Mets mascot. They'd have gotten rid of him for Grimace. I'm with you, Joseph Smith, who chimes in on Facebook. He says, I don't think it was a great trade on either side. Only time will tell. Yeah, I don't know that it made either team substantially better, although the Wolves, I think they realized they had hit their limit with both Cat and Gobert, and now DiVincenzo gives them that extra glue guy. And the chemistry. The chemistry for the Knicks, it's just – they had to get rid of Randle. There was no question you had to get rid of Randle and get another big guy because they couldn't keep Hartenstein. But now you bring in Cat. And which Cat is going to show up? One who's got a moodiness, one that goes out and gets 30. How is he going to be in a big spot, and how is he going to mesh with Brunson and Hart and Bridges? You didn't want to get rid of Dante DiVincenzo. That was the one guy you wouldn't want to – you don't want to get rid of other guys either that are Villanova. But, yeah, that chemistry. It's a very, very, very important – you hit on something there, Joseph, in basketball. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't mesh well, doesn't always pan out. Look at some of the teams that have failed in the playoffs. Brooklyn Nets, when they had KD and Harden and Kyrie, that didn't mesh. They had all the talent in the world. Didn't mesh. Sometimes the chemistry, you got to have it. So Knicks fans, I would be cautious. I saw Craig Carden put out there, one of the TV and former radio hosts on FAN. Craig, calm down. Karl Anthony Towns, he's not exactly been the guy that's been the winning performer in the playoffs year after year after year. I just think they're going to regret getting rid of DiVincenzo, not the guy I would have parted ways with. Yeah, wouldn't have done it. So there you have it. That's going to conclude this edition of, you see on the hash with Hatfield. We generally do those on Thursdays. We did a couple on a Friday. we're trying to move it up in a week to like around Wednesday because I got a lot of stuff with now soccer doing some of that and then football and then basketball's coming here soon, hot and heavy before you know it as we move into October. So we're going to try to start planning for those on Wednesdays. We've had some good interviews. Malik Sexton, if you missed that, go watch that on our YouTube channel on Cova Sports TV. He was fantastic. Former Churchland quarterback, Virginia State athlete, who's now the head coach at Glen Allen. Took over for Perry Jones, the former Oscar Smith and UVA student, who's now an assistant at William & Mary. And Perry laid the foundation for what Malik has carried on at Glen Allen. And we've got some surprises for you, some neat things in the works for 757 Saturday Sports Talk. I understand Coach Young is efforting our man Tim Kirkchin from ESPN for probably next week during the baseball playoffs. We might have a couple of goodies as we move into late October and November as well. And you're always encouraged to interact with us, chime in, whatever you want to talk about or hear. Please let us know and reach out to us, and definitely hit that subscribe button on Cova Sports TV. So have a great rest of your Friday night, early Saturday morning, and we'll talk to you approximately 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Cova Sports TV. Also streamed up there on Facebook and IG and Twitter and X and Apple and Spotify. So there you have it. As always, we appreciate you for tuning in and interacting with us and commenting, and send us your questions, your thoughts, your suggestions, and we'll see you in the morning, early in the morning on Cova Sports TV. Have a great sports weekend, everyone, and stay safe and dry with all this nasty weather that's been around the Commonwealth and all down the East Coast. Talk to you.